Welcome back, guys. Today is July 22nd, so we're right smack in the middle of summer here in Arizona. So there's not really much to do in the way of gardening. But what I'd like to talk about today is something that I'm planning to do once summer is done, when I uppot my fig trees. So if you guys have seen my introduction video for the channel, I have quite a few fig trees, and they're all in small pots, like 3-gallon, mostly from 1 to 3-gallon pots. So they're fairly young. So this is my panache. So the plan is, when summer is done, I'm going to uppot my fig trees to a larger, to larger pots. So these are my fig trees. Just as a recap, this is my Violet de Bordeaux. This is my LSU Purple, from which we took like a couple of cuttings a couple of weeks back as well. That is my yellow longneck. And then right over here we also have an Angelito and a Black Madeira. So the plan is to uppot these fig trees when summer is done. So a couple of weeks ago, we were at church. The message was on Psalms, the first chapter, which talks about the wicked versus the righteous. So it compares the two persons. And the third verse says, he, being the righteous, is like a tree growing by a stream, where it bears fruit in its season, and the leaves do not wither. The point I'm making is actually the tree. So where it says, when it's growing by a stream, it bears its fruits in season, and the leaves don't wither. So why is that? Right? It's because it gets constant supply of nourishment, so water and the nutrients from the ground. But I live in Arizona. I'm in the middle of the desert, so there's no stream here by my house, and so so I thought, what's the closest thing that I can provide to the trees? At least the fig trees that that I have, because they're pretty young, and I want them to be very fruitful. So the idea is the self-irrigating pot. So the idea of self-irrigating pot is not really new, right? There's a lot of videos on YouTube that talks about self-irrigating or building self-irrigating pots. So it's not new. It's just that idea that came to my mind based on the scripture. So I went to Home Depot. I watched some of the videos to get an idea of how to build it. So I went to Home Depot. This is the big. I think this is the biggest that I found. So it's a 20-inch planter. So this pot holds, right here, 52 quarts. So divide by 4, that's 10, 12, divided by 4, 3. So it's about 13 gallons. All right, so it's 13 gallons. So what is a self-irrigating pot, or self-watering pot, right? So basically, taking the idea from that tree planted by the stream, right? So where it gets consistent supply of water. So how do we supply our trees with consistent, how do we give our trees a consistent supply of water? Is to have a water reservoir underneath, right? The soil. So the soil would always be moist but it's not, it's not soggy. It's not soaked in water, right? But there's moisture underneath, and so we'll need something to wick that water as well. So from the bottom to the soil on top. The bottom, I think the bottom 3 we can make into the water reservoir. So what I did here is, I made a mark at the, where is that? At the bottom, from the bottom. So I measured 3 inches from the bottom, and I marked it so that I can measure the diameter, from that mark over there to the same height over here, which is 3 inches from the bottom, and it was about 14 inches. So we're gonna have to use something to use as like a false bottom over here, so that the bottom 3 inches would be the water reservoir. And what I found was, there's this like plastic, it's like a plastic plant tray or plant saucer, I think is what it's called. But it's not like the clear plastic that you can buy, that's very flimsy. So it looks, at least from the picture, I don't have it yet, so I'm gonna order it. It looks pretty sturdy, so I'm gonna use that. So having that here, I'm not sure if it's gonna hold it, because the bottom here is about an inch narrower than 3 inches above, right? Because you see it's where is it? Yeah, there you go. So it's tapered, right? It tapers down to the bottom. So I'm not sure if just having that saucer here at 14 inches diameter would hold would hold the weight of the soil on top, or it might collapse. If it even turns sideways a little bit, it's just gonna collapse. So I think I'm gonna use there's this tube that you can get from Home Depot, which I believe it's used for like French drainage. So there's 6-inch. If I get that, I can use that, cut it in half. So the 6-inch diameter would be, it'll be like 3-inch, right? And then I'll put that at the bottom. So that would support that false bottom. And then that should, theoretically, that should work, right? We're doing some pretty basic engineering here. And I've seen some videos as well on YouTube that where they did that, they used it. The other thing about this pot though is it has the drainage holes at the bottom, so we're gonna have to plug those. I think there are plugs that I can buy from Home Depot, so I'll do that, and then perhaps probably need to like put silicone around it just to seal it, to make sure, just to prevent water from leaking. So completely plug those holes. So that would be a challenge in itself as well. Well, I mean, that'll be one of the things that we need to do. The plan. Oh, and then we'll have like an 1.25 inches, maybe 1.5 inches of a PVC tube that'll be from the bottom here coming up to the top like that. So that's where we're gonna put in the water. I'll probably use the drip irrigation as well, to keep filling it with water through that pipe. Next step is gonna be, acquiring those the plugs and the PVC pipe in that false bottom, because I don't think they have it available at the store. So I'm gonna order it online. So it'll take maybe a couple of days to get here. So in the next part, I'll show you what I got, and maybe we'll start building this. Okay, so until then, thanks for watching this video to the end, and if you enjoyed this, I would appreciate if you could hit the like button, and perhaps you might consider subscribing as well, and sharing this video. So until then, thank you so much for joining us on this journey of transforming our tiny backyard into our own little desert oasis. We'll see you in the next one.